Right. Would I
Hmm.
leave you hanging?
No, of course
I
not.
would never leave you hanging. So
No.
do me a favor
Hmm.
and just shut up and chill, smoke a joint, relax.
Hey, I've got some vape over here. I could do.
Get some vape.
Uh
Vape.
huh. Oh yeah.
Got some vape. Listen to you
Hey,
with
I
the
can't
vape.
do any of that stuff. They can test us anytime at work.
My daughter swears by her vape. I said,
Hmm.
she's got that like different flavors like
Yep.
cherry and grape,
I'm with the grape right now. Yep.
but that's like nauseating to me. It's like, grape flavored smoke. It's like, go away. Just smoke a joint, will you? It
Uh,
smells better.
after
Smoke a
the,
cigarette.
I'm still upset with my desk being moved, so I probably should. I'm still after that. Yes.
Crazy.
Yep.
Well, listen. You want to do this?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
We got a great guest tonight going to join us, I guess, in about 10 minutes or
Hmm.
so.
Yeah, and I got somebody that I want to get mad at a little bit. I gotta. Hmm.
Tell me now.
Really?
No, no, don't tell me later. All right, hold on, Emil.
Okay.
It's 4 o'clock in Los Angeles. It's 6 o'clock in Chicago and 7 p.m. in New York City. Hello, everybody. I'm Mad Dog DeCipio. It's a Tuesday night. It's What's the Buzz, and you know what that means, Amelia.
What's the buzz
It's
time?
What's the Buzz time. Hot damn, you said it. It's,
Hmm.
it's What's the Buzz time. And our guest is joining us live in the studio from his home in Palm Springs, California, Geoffrey Mark. How are you, Jeffrey?
I'm doing well, considering we're having a monsoon here.
Oh
Oh my
no!
God! I heard you guys are getting flooded the hell out.
Oh no!
More towards the coast.
Mm.
Yeah,
The desert is in somewhat, but we're getting our fair share here.
yeah, man. Pray for Jeffrey. He's going to need a paddle boat. It's been rough.
So
I'll
I'm
tell you
all
what,
yours for the
man.
next. I'm all yours for the next 2 hours.
Beautiful. I'm going to use you about an hour and 45 of it, at least. Um, Let me tell everybody a little bit about Geoffrey Mark. Geoffrey Mark is known as much for his colorful wardrobe and hat collection as he is for his song stylings and book authorship. He has performed at such notable clubs as Oscars in Palm Springs and aboard Carnival Cruise Lines worldwide. His works include best-selling books on iconic TV comedian Lucilee Ball, Broadway Showstopper Ethel Merman, and his unprecedented look into the life and career of legendary jazz stylist Ella Fitzgerald. His radio show, Geoffrey Mark Plays Ella, is heard nationally. Check your local listings and stations for times. Geoffrey Mark is the proud recipient of an Emmy Award for writing and has been Grammy Award nominated. He's written comedy for stand-up comedians, writes and produces documentaries and reality shows for cable TV, and on top of all that, were that not enough, Geoffrey Mark is one of our favorite people and a
Mhm.
good buddy of mine. Jeffrey, welcome to the show. How the fuck are you?
Wow, how the fuck can I be after that introduction? Good heavens.
Well, you are the man of the hour. First of all,
Mhm.
sporting a new hat. That's a new
Mhm.
one on this show. I like.
Yes, I love
Well, I
that.
have about 130 of them. So
I know you do.
chances are each time it will be something new.
Mhm.
I
With
know
something
Jeffrey's got a hell. Every picture I see,
Mhm.
Geoffrey Mark. I'm telling Amelia,
Mhm.
Jeffrey's got a different hat in almost every pose too.
Oh yes.
He's got a hat for every occasion.
Mhm.
and
run-
matching sequin vests and sequin dusters and sequin scarves and jewelry and
Boas. I love the
Well,
boas.
Geoffrey, you know, it's funny because the one thing that you're known for your flamboyant flair, for what imagine that.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every time, and I love you, Geoffrey, but every time you come here, there's a trail of bodies in your wake. We lost some more people. Every time you come here, we're saying condolences to more people.
You can't pin that
Lisa,
on me.
no, I'm Lisa Loring, Raquel Welch, Richard Belzer, gone. And
Well-
Robert Blake most recently.
Oh yes, that was so sad.
Well,
yeah, my
I went-
favorite
I
guy,
went to-
Beretta.
I went to school with Lisa Loring.
Yeah.
We went through the 3rd grade together. And in fact, Lisa gave me my first, lips kiss.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
She was doing the Pruitts of Southampton at that point. She'd finished the Addams Family. She was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I liked her a lot. Wasn't the smartest girl in school, so
Yeah.
I often did her homework for her so she wouldn't, get yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
And she would wear these plastic and paper dresses. In 1966, little girls didn't dress like that in
Yeah.
Southern California for school. And call people, "Oh, darling." And I'm like, ooh. Even at 8 years old, I knew this is way too young for her to be this affected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Well, a lifetime goes by, and I was writing and producing a documentary on the Addams Family. And I got a hold of Lisa, and she came into the studio with me, and I interviewed her on camera. Didn't remember me at all, but gave me a wonderful. I wish I could have used more of what she said, because so much of what she said about her life and being married to someone in the adult film industry, and her own appearances in adult films, it made me kind of sad.
Yeah.
She wasn't happy about it. I don't judge adult film performance.
Yeah.
I have those who are friends of mine.
Sure.
But
Me too.
she wasn't happy about it.
Well, Geoffrey, can I interject something? I read a little
ahead
bit
and try.
from what you and I have talked, because we've talked about her on the show previously.
Yes.
And so when she passed, immediately I struck up that conversation you and I had.
Yes.
And I read into this a very troubled, very sad woman who it seemed her life was a journey to find herself. And it feels like she never did find herself. She thought maybe she found Mr. Right. It turned out to be Mr. Wrong. A guy in the adult film industry. And she, of course, you can't be with somebody in adult films and not get sucked into it. And it's just the way it is. I know.
You trust me to say that sentence.
Yeah, I know. I know, right? But I've known people in adult films, people like Herschel Savage and
Sure.
and Ron Jeremy. People
I knew
like
Ron
that.
very well.
Yeah, and and I know people who do adult films and did, back in the day.
But you're talking about people who got into the business as adults.
Yeah.
Who it was of their own volition, it was their desire, it was their idea to be a part of it. Through I guess the first one I knew personally was Jack Wrangler, because he was married to Margaret Whiting, and I knew Margaret. So if I hung out with Maggie, you hung out with Maggie and Jack.
Sure.
A delightful, intelligent, very talented man who happened to be good looking and blessed between the legs.
Yeah.
He loved making adult films and was even lying to Maggie about it. He agreed when they got married, no more gay adult films. Yeah, I left the gay part out. He was bisexual.
Yeah, I know. I know who he is. Yeah.
He was. I'm telling our friends out there who are watching us. He was gay. He really was gay.
He was
gay.
He was gay. Don't tell nobody he was gay.
He enjoyed doing it so much that even after they got married, he continued doing it and lying to her about it. But what was different about Lisa was, and I'll try to use a different term, she was pushed into it. She was lured into it. Yeah. There was a heavy, you need to get into this. as opposed to her being attracted to it.
Yeah.
And I think her self-esteem dropped. I think she felt badly about herself. And
Yeah.
it took years and years. And I don't know that she ever got past that. I think
Yeah.
Lisa got past the child star thing.
Yeah.
Paul Peterson helped her with that, my dear friend Paul, who, by the way, if you remember the Donna Reed, I'm talking to our friends out there. If you remember the Donna Reed show, Paul was her son, Jeff. Paul's having some health issues. Let's all pray for Paul, please.
Yeah,
for my friend to
Oh,
get better.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
But Paul
Mhm.
helped her with the child star stuff.
Yeah.
It's what came afterwards, I think, that really
Mhm.
made
Well,
Lisa
Jeffrey, in
had to do it.
fairness, and you're absolutely right, Paul Peterson not only helped her, but was instrumental in helping a lot of former child stars, quote unquote, grow up.
We could do 2 hours, sir, on what his organization, of which I'm a board member,
Yeah.
a minor consideration, has done for current child stars and child athletes.
Yeah.
And all the folks who came before, I mean, going back to Shirley Temple and Rose Marie as babies.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
We helped a lot of
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
There were people. I was his wingman for people with drug and alcohol issues because April 1st, I will be Jeff Willing, 34 years clean and sober. So
God bless.
Oh, wow.
I was, thank you, sir, and ma'am. I was someone he could take to people who had that issue and speak to them as someone in the business who was able to find the right kind of help
Mhm.
and get better. We had our victories. I tried to help Dana Plato. I tried to help Corey Haim.
Mhm.
I couldn't get through, or I was the wrong guy. We'll never know. And then there were the people who I did help. And I'm thrilled to pieces I could do some good for somebody else.
Yeah.
Paul has dedicated his life to this. He's still doing it. He's doing it sitting down now.
Sure.
He can't really travel much anymore. He's
Yeah.
got lung issues, but
Yeah.
he's still at it, helping people. And yay! And I'm very proud board member. Of
And
that
the biggest consideration is that if you are in that predicament and are unfortunate enough to be beset with issues like that, do yourself a favor and ask for help, please. There are people like Paul Peterson and Geoffrey Mark and countless others that are there for you, but ask for help.
Yes.
I think part of the problem, Jeffrey, with Lisa Loring, and I was reading quite a bit about her because I knew your connection to her, is that she made bad choices because it was always the number one factor with her was financial. She needed the money.
Well, a lot of people in show business need the money.
Yeah.
Another organization of which I'm a member, Yarmy's Army, which is you can do 2 hours on that organization as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Comedians, comedy writers, comedy directors, whose the original purpose of the group was to raise money for people who had careers in show business, not for unknowns, not for wannabes, but for people who were known. But not everybody in show business becomes a millionaire. Not everybody in show business has income forever.
Right.
True.
To help them out, because people think everybody in the business is hugely wealthy, and we're not. You know,
and take for example, Jeffrey, Richard Grieco many years ago.
He was a huge, for those of you who don't remember, sex symbol and television actor, and he did a few movies, and his time came and went. That happens actually to most people in the business. You get 5 good years to make money. And then most people end up doing autograph shows and memorabilia shows, and then they do something else to make money to live on. And then there are those of us, for whatever reason, whose careers just keep going. When I'm together with my peers who are more or less up or down 10 years of my age, the first thing everybody asks, are you working?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And those of us who are working, it's like, let's just let's kiss the feet of Kismet
Mhm.
that we
Exactly.
still have the opportunity, that I have the opportunity to be on your show,
Yes.
or that I have a show of my own, or I
Yes.
have 2 new books coming out and a new album, and I'll be touring in the fall and all that jazz. Yay for me. And there's gonna come a time when it won't be so busy for me.
Exactly.
And I've had
Right.
those times in the past. We make a lot of money when we work.
Sure.
But for those of you out there who don't understand this,
Mm-hmm.
for actors now, I don't
Mhm.
put myself in this category. I'm an actor, but I've made most of my money doing other things in show business.
Mhm.
Sure.
You know, there's 15% to your manager off the top. There's 10% to your agent for every job you book.
Yep.
Another 10% probably goes to a show business attorney, look over your contracts and protect you.
Mhm.
Then, you know what? This stuff isn't free.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jewelry, hats, makeup, arrangements.
Especially Geoffrey Mark, because
Yes,
he's got
especially
sequins
Jeffrey.
and
Right.
shit.
Right. Hotels,
got-
everything.
I'm
Mhm.
not going to tell you where I live because I don't want to get robbed. I've got thousands and thousands of dollars worth of
Mhm.
jewelry and
Mhm.
hats,
Oh,
scarves,
sure.
costuming, so that when I go out there to be Geoffrey Mark, I'm Geoffrey Mark.
Mhm.
Exactly. Well, let's
Oh.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Sure, I am.
That's a great segue.
Yeah.
So
So,
let's talk about Geoffrey Mark. Who is Geoffrey Mark Fiddleman?
ew.
Just the
Ew.
Geoffrey Mark part is.
First of all, you brought up a joke in my own house.
Oh, God.
When my father's father came over here, he comes, my father's father comes from Belarus,
Okay.
Mhm.
from a town called Pinsk, which is a stone throw from Minsk.
Minsk, I mean-
Both of my grandfathers come from that town. In fact, they both come from the same street in that town.
Bless
When
you.
he came over here around 1917 to avoid serving in the Russian army during World War I,
Mhm.
the name Fiedleman. Now, we don't know what it was in Russia because generally speaking, the folks at Ellis Island condensed it down.
Yeah.
So I grew up Fiddleman,
Yeah.
till I was in first grade. And I came home one day and my father made a pronouncement. We had been pronouncing the name wrongly. The right name to pronounce the name is Fidelman.
Fidelman. Oh,
Mm.
Now,
gotcha.
his father and stepmother, his brothers, his aunts and uncles, his cousins, all still called it Fiddleman.
Fiddleman.
Only the 3 of us, Fidelman.
Really?
What-
That's interesting.
When I got famous enough, and we can do a whole show about this sometime, my father's family have not been nice to me at all. They're terribly homophobic. They don't, if you don't have a house on Long Island with a picket fence and 2 cars and investments, you're nothing. You're nothing. And that's how they treated me as.
Sure. And if you're not a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
Or an accountant is okay.
Accountant, yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
accountant.
Yeah. Mhm.
I was nobody. I was not welcome in their homes. I'm not guessing. I was told I was not welcome in their homes.
Wow.
So here I am being famous and winning awards. And why should they get any pleasure, or the Yiddish word nachas,
Mhm.
that their last name is out there? Their last name didn't do a damn thing for me.
Not a thing.
So
No.
Mark is my middle name. And a very quick story. My parents' best friends also had a son named Jeff. We're 2 years apart. He's older. So he was Big Jeff. I was Little Jeff. Somewhere around 5, this happened. I got taller than he. And they didn't want to insult him. So he became Geoffrey Keith. I became Geoffrey Mark. Quite frankly, my whole life, when I talk to myself, oh, Geoffrey Mark, why did you do that? So Geoffrey Mark is not like a made-up name or something I'm uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Who am I? I am Geoffrey Mark.
Mhm.
I'm not a Fidelman. I don't fit in with them. I don't have, other than liking spicy foods, I have nothing in common with those people.
You carved out your own identity.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Which we all should.
So let me ask you a question. The one thing that we've
Right.
never talked about, and this is your 3rd appearance with me.
Yes, sir.
One thing we've never talked, and you have been nominated for and won an Emmy Award, and you've also been nominated for a Grammy Award. What was the Grammy for? We've never talked about
Yeah.
this.
Okay. Well,
Was this a singing album or a word only album?
I will tell you.
Sure.
I had 2 periods of my life of fame. The original one was as a teenager and in my early 20s, when I was making movies and being in off-Broadway shows and doing summer stock and starring in nightclubs. And then I became known for my advocacy during the days when AIDS first came along. And I was on TV a lot, advocating, at least in New York City, I was anyway.
Right.
Then I had my drugs and alcohol issue and I fell out of fame. When I got famous again was because my first book about Ella Fitzgerald came out, and all of a sudden, boom, I like, wow, I'm getting famous like every day, bigger and bigger.
Right.
So I began writing album notes for Ella's CD releases. One day I got a phone call from a man named Orrin Keep News. Ella's first 20 years as a vocalist on records was for Decca Records. Ella's people sued Decca because they weren't paying her the royalties from the LPs.
Oh.
So there were no Decca CDs out.
Yeah.
They settled the lawsuit. Orrin called me and he told me who he was, and I recognized his name. Very, very famous producer.
Sure.
And he said, we're putting together a 4 CD big boxed set of Ella's work on Decca from 1938 to 1955. He said, I asked 10 people in the business who I should get to work on this with me, and all 10 of them gave me your name and phone number.
Wow.
So I chose
quite an endorsement.
I chose the songs. I sequenced the songs. And then they wanted me to write like a 100-page booklet, because this is a great big boxed set. It was this big clunky thing, and the booklet inside was going to be this big. Well, 100 pages this big.
Wow.
They wanted me to write another book.
Oh wow.
And I said, gee whiz, could there be 2 of us? Could I hire someone I like? One will also write about the life, one will write about the music. So that I'm not just rewriting my book again.
Yeah.
And I hired, at that time, an almost unknown James Gavin, who has now written books all over the place. Jimmy and I are very close friends.
You got James Gavin to collaborate?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. What that set you back?
It set them back. And Jimmy and I got nominated for a Grammy for writing album notes.
No shit.
Oh,
No
wow.
shit. And
Incredible.
Jimmy and I are still very close friends, and
Wow.
see each other as often. He lives in New York in Manhattan, in my old neighborhood, and I live out here in the desert. But he comes out here 2 or 3 times a year, and when I go back east, I see him.
Jeffrey, how far are you from Sinatra's old place?
Oh, about 20-minute drive.
Oh.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra loved Palm Springs. He lived there till they died.
He lived in Rancho Mirage.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are not familiar with the geography, if you live in a suburb where the suburb has a name, but each little individual neighborhood also has a name, that's kind of what the Coachella Valley is like. Desert Hot Springs, Palm Springs, Cathedral City, Rancho Mirage, leading out to the county seat of Indio. It's really just one big place. But when we talk to people who don't know the geography, we just call everything Palm Springs.
Yeah.
But he loved it out here. A lot of people have loved it out here. Harpo Marx loved it out here. Mary Martin had a home out here.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of wonderful people. Lucy Arnaz lives out here now. Kay Ballard, until she died, lived out here.
Yeah.
Bing Crosby had a place out here. Tab Hunter had a place out here. Elvis did. Liberace did.
Yeah. You
It's a lovely
realize
place.
you're mentioning names that were legendary in show business, Jeffrey. And unfortunately, sadly, the generations are passing by and passing on, and those names, many of them, are dying with them.
Yes.
What
there are
can
some
our generation do? What can we do? We're in our 60s. What can we do?
hush.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't be telling that.
Sorry.
Next you're going to tell them my penis size. Come on now.
So what do we do to save the legacy? How do we save
Well,
the music?
People should be writing books.
Mhm.
There are wonderful people all over the country who are doing tribute shows to some of these people.
Mhm.
I do a
Yes.
tribute show to Ella. I mean, I don't come out as Ella Fitzgerald, but I sing her music and
Mhm.
tell her stories. Back here someplace, you can
Mhm.
see a picture of me. That poster is from me doing Geoffrey Mark
Yeah.
sings the Ella
I
Fitzgerald
mentioned
songbook.
you did a show at one of the hot spots in Palm
Oscars.
Springs called Oscars.
Yeah, that was
Talk
what
to me
that's from.
about and I know that show was filmed for
Yeah.
a video.
Unfortunately, the recording of that show did not. I was okay, but the technically the sound didn't work. So
Oh.
unfortunately, after paying a lot of money with big hopes I'd have merchandise to sell, it's
Yeah.
just gonna sit in a drawer and be a memory because it's unsellable.
Oh wow. That's
Oh no.
Show business, kids. You
yeah, I know.
can't count on anything.
True.
And you
Yeah.
don't count a success until the check has cleared. Never mind that you
Absolutely. Make
received
sure
it.
the check clears the bank.
Right.
Well,
Amelia.
I
Mhm.
take those fuckers right to the bank and cash them.
Absolutely.
Right.
Amelia, you
Mhm.
are up. Show Jeffrey. First of all, Jeffrey, in
Mhm.
paying tribute to you, look what Amelia did. Her background.
I
is
noticed
all over.
immediately.
I know. Isn't
You
that
want to
wonderful?
take that gift out for Jeffrey? Show him what you got.
Oh yes, I got this at a garage. Look at that.
Oh,
Look at that.
Isn't
Isn't
that
that
beautiful?
that is around the time of the first season of I Love Lucy.
nice? Mhm.
Mhm.
Around the time she had finished making Fancy Pants and was getting ready to put her life into her show.
Yeah, it's a 1942.
No, that's not true.
Jeffrey, what came first,
Yeah,
Fancy
it's a-
Pants or the long trailer?
I beg your pardon? Fancy Pants came way first.
Yeah.
Long
Okay.
trailer.
1940 coming back. But
Whoever put the date on that, trust me, the date
Really?
is wrong. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's from around 1950.
Really? Okay. Well,
Which
I'll
is
have to go
fine.
check.
It's a gorgeous,
Isn't it
gorgeous
beautiful?
Yeah.
I
photo
love
of
it.
her.
It's one of my favorite photos of her.
Yeah. Lucilee Ball had made a film with Bob Hope
Mhm.
in 48 that was very well
Mm.
received.
Mhm.
So they wanted to do what reteam them. Paramount wanted a reteaming, and they
Mhm.
did Fancy Pants. Fancy Pants was the biggest comedy Paramount had up to that moment in time.
Mhm.
So Lucilee Ball's career in films was huge.
Yes.
Everybody says her career was over. No,
No.
not
God.
at
Mhm.
all. She had a top 10 radio show, My Favorite Husband. She
Mhm.
had this wonderful Bob Hope big hit.
Mhm.
And she was all over radio doing other things besides her own show. Long Trailer came about because of the success of I Love Lucy.
Mhm.
MGM felt that both Lucille and Desi had been MGM players at one time.
Mhm.
That a color version of I Love Lucy would bring people. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Monday nights, people weren't going to the movies, so they could stay home and watch Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz.
Mhm.
Well, let's put them into the theater in color. And the long Trailer was, I mean, he's Nikki and Tacey instead of Lucy and Ricky. It's
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
they're
Sure.
the same basic characters. And it's, Vincent Minnelli directed it. It's a wonderful, funny film. But that was made in 1953. They went right from she had the baby, they worked continuously, and then made the film, and then they took a break.
Yeah.
So it was the end of a very long year for both of them.
Yeah, and I love the movie. His, mine, and ours, or hers, and
Yours, Mine, and Ours.
I
was
love that movie.
a book that had come out that Miss Ball had optioned. Let's see what we could do with this.
Yeah.
And originally the original script was written with Lucilee Ball and Bob Hope in mind.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you watch Henry Fonda and listen to some of the dialogue, you can hear it coming out of Bob Hope's mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
What Bob wanted to do was a movie about a doctor and a nurse in Vietnam.
Mhm.
In 1968, that was a very stupid thing to do.
Yeah, boy, that was.
And this one, I mean, the film was made in 67, so a stupid thing to do. In fact, I believe I was talent scouted to be in that film because Desilu came to me. How do people allow this? In the playground during recess at school, my principal brought a man from Desilu to talk to me. They wanted to sign me to a contract.
Oh,
I
wow.
have to believe it was for that film,
Right.
but I'll never know because my parents wouldn't let me do it.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
well, we could do 2 hours about my parents too. We got the next 6 appearances
Oh, yeah.
all lined up.
Right.
Well, we're going to get into the good, bad, and the ugly tonight.
Right. Yeah,
And I'm going to sing if we can arrange that technically.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
We're,
We
I
got that
got your
ready.
music all queued up. We're ready to
Yeah,
roll.
we got it ready.
Here's been the problem with me on shows like this, including my own shows when I've hosted shows.
Why don't you like us, Geoffrey?
Is I play the music here and sing to it.
Yeah.
And even if I blast the music, the folks at home and the folks in the studio, they hear my voice, but they can't hear the music.
Oh, they're
So
going to
what
hear
we
your music tonight, brother.
So what we did, folks, is I sent them tracks on their end. They have them. Hopefully, I'll be able to hear them, and you'll be able to hear my
you're
voice.
Going to hear
and
them, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Mixed well together.
Amelia Amelia will tell you she was my guinea pig. I said, Amelia, how we sounding?
Oh, yeah, we sounded great. We did the sound check.
So, but before we even get into that, we got a lot of time before we're going to be here for a little bit.
Yeah.
They call you. Let me get this right. I want to make sure I get this right. I want to give you whatever credit you got coming to you. Here we go. And this is a direct quote. Geoffrey Mark has been called a virtual walking encyclopedia on show business history. Raised in born in Brooklyn and raised all over the country, Geoffrey has spent his entire life in one form of show business or another. I want to ask you a little bit about this.
Sure.
You are the go-to guy, I am told, on movies. You know everything about movies, they tell me.
I know everything about show business history up through about 1975.
Okay, well then you're in good shape then.
From 1875, so we're talking about touring shows, medicine shows, the beginnings of vaudeville, the beginnings of burlesque, the beginnings of those awful racist minstrel shows, through All in the Family and Mary Tyler Moore on television, through Jane Fonda's first big hits. And then, it isn't that I don't know anything since 75, but I am not necessarily au courant on what's happening now.
No.
We do a thing here, Geoffrey, called Right Face, Wrong Place. Let me tell you a little bit about Right Face, Wrong Place.
Yes, sir.
It's actors who are notoriously miscast. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So, right film, wrong actor, right actor, wrong film. Give me your top five either right actors in the wrong films or the right films with the wrong actors.
Can I include Broadway or is this just films?
You could do Broadway too.
Broadway,
sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
Right film, wrong actor. I love her to pieces. And her sister is a dear friend of mine. Barbra Streisand in Hello, Dolly was wrong person in a good film.
Okay,
except, as one critic said of the film, someone should have told them it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Because,
yes.
Gene Kelly directed it. Roger Edens produced it, and he was a big macher at MGM. So the film has the look and the splendor of an MGM musical.
Absolutely.
But Michael Stewart, may he rest in peace. I knew Michael. Wrote the book of Hello, Dolly, the Broadway show.
Sure.
Taking it from Thornton Wilder's The Matchmaker,
Mm-hmm.
which is taken from his earlier play, The Merchant of Yonkers,
Yeah.
where Horace was the main character, and it was a flop. He rewrote it where Dolly was the main character. It was a big hit. Ruth Gordon played it on Broadway. Shirley Booth played it in the movie. And
Carol Channing.
Oh.
we're going to get to that in 1 second.
Oh, got you. Okay.
You know, Ethel Merman was the original person that they wrote the musical for. She turned it down for personal reasons. And they brought my dear friend Carol Channing in. And Carol was brilliant in it. You know, Hello, Dolly is a satire on the mores and the sexual tensions of turn of the century New York City.
Absolutely. Of course.
But they had to leave out an awful lot of the comedy to fit in all the songs.
Yeah.
Carol was an enormous success with it. And then having Louis Armstrong have a #1 hit with the title song.
Oh my God.
The whole world knew about
please.
this.
Absolutely.
Well, David Merrick decided that rather than having Carol stay with the show till it petered out, he would take her on the road. Already, my dear friend Carol Cook, who just passed away at 99.
Oh, yes.
99 years old.
99, was sent to Australia. She was the second Dolly.
Yeah.
Then Mary Martin took the show first to Tokyo, then toured it for the troops in Vietnam, and then did it in London.
Yeah.
So they decided to take Carol and let her tour all over the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
They brought in Ginger Rogers.
Ginger Rogers, the dancer.
Yeah. You said with one inflection everything I could have possibly said.
Yes.
I was like,
Okay. She couldn't sing the songs really. And Ginger was a fine actress. She wasn't bad in the part, but she wasn't great. The box office started to fall. They brought in Betty Grable.
Oh, gee. Wow.
No. So they replaced Betty Grable with Martha Ray. Now,
Oh,
Martha
my
did
God.
very well. Maggie was wonderful in the show.
Oh, Martha Ray was brilliant. Genius.
When the box office started to fall again, David Merrick got the bright idea of having an all-black cast come in and have what he called his first black Dolly with Pearl Bailey. Except Carol Channing was half black. She was already the first black Dolly, but they didn't talk about that back then.
Yeah.
They brought in a whole new cast for Pearl, and it did great guns. When Pearl got tired, they brought in Phyllis Diller. Phyllis, I adored Phyllis. She was a friend of mine as well. And she could sing, and she could act. Phyllis was great at the acting part of Dolly, but not at the selling of songs.
No, not at all. She wasn't a vocalist at all.
No.
Not at all.
She could carry a tune, but she wasn't. It wasn't that she didn't like her voice. She didn't know how to sell. A song has to be sold to the audience.
Sure, you have to.
Especially
you got to be able to belt it out.
Oh, yeah.
So they went and tapped Ethel Merman and said, look, we know you didn't want to do this in the beginning, but if you come into the show for 3 months, Hello, Dolly will become the longest running musical in Broadway history at that moment.
Yes.
The movie of Hello, Dolly had already come out. And what we haven't said so far is that when Merman turned the show down, they took 2 songs out of the score because Jerry Herman said nobody else but Ethel Merman can sing these things.
Yeah.
So she said, you know what? She said, my parents are ill. I want to stay near New York. I'll do it. But I want all new costumes. And I want to add those 2 songs back into the show. So the Ethel Merman version of Hello, Dolly was 30 minutes longer, 15 minutes for the 2 songs, and 15 minutes for the extra standing ovations because she was Ethel Merman.
Wow. Amazing.
So they had all these people to choose from to make the film. And Merman was the first contender. They thought, well, you know, a score written for her, and she has made movies. And
Mhm.
when she's played comedy in movies, she's been a big success. Like It's a Mad, 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 Mad World and The Art of
Sure. Oh my
Love.
God, absolutely. Yeah.
But Barbara Streisand was a bigger star.
Oh, sure.
Miss Streisand sang the score brilliantly. I mean,
Mhm.
no one could have sung it better. But Dolly Levi was supposed to be an Irish dame in her 50s
Yeah.
who had been married to a lovely Jewish man who had given her a wonderful life but left her poor when he died.
Yeah.
And she was doing what she was doing to eat and pay rent,
Absolutely. Of
but
course.
she wasn't having any more luxuries.
Yeah.
And she got tired of it, and she was going to marry Horace Van de Gelder and
Mhm.
live a better life. Barbara was way, 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 way too young for that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, and sometimes this happens, there was no on-screen chemistry between her and Walter Matthau.
None whatsoever. I absolutely concur.
So
I absolutely concur.
perhaps if they'd had a different leading man,
Yeah.
Mhm.
James Caan playing the part, maybe. And
Well, the other thing too, Jeffrey, is Walter, even at the time, was considerably older than Barbara.
he was the right age to play Horace.
But even compared to Barbara, who was very young at the time.
She was in her 20s.
Yeah, 22 maybe.
No,
Mhm.
she was a little older by that.
Was she older than that?
More like 26. But
Okay.
still, you know.
Yeah, I think Walter was probably 35, 37, somewhere around there.
Oh no, Walter was almost 50 by that point.
Was he that? Yeah, okay. You're making my point for me then. Yeah, he
No,
was much
he
older.
became famous late in life.
Yeah.
What can you do? You make a movie, you want it to be the best,
Sure.
but Miss Streisand, again, she's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant talent performer, gives her money to charity. I'm not denigrating Miss Streisand at all. Just this one part wasn't, it could have been better.
What
I'm
other
sure-
notable performer just did the wrong project? And maybe they did it for money, or they did it for they weren't doing anything that day.
my friends out there. Okay, I'm not talking to our hosts. I'm talking to you guys out there. Now, you've been staring at the wall behind me. I can hear you shouting at me that if I didn't mention this, I'd be a jerk. So I have to mention Lucilee Ball in Maine. Another Jerry Herman big film project.
Yeah.
And the reason Miss Ball was miscast, the only reason, had the movie been made 10 years earlier, she would have been wonderful in it. In the 1960s, when Miss Ball could still sing and still really dance and didn't need all the filtering to try to look younger. Her leg had not just recently been broken. She was in her 60s. The part calls for someone who's about 40 or 35.
Yeah.
Miss Ball, same script, same songs, could have done better. And I also blame Gene Saks. I don't, even though he did it on Broadway, I don't think he was bringing in people who are concerned with the choreography, how things look. Lucilee Ball and Ethel Merman needed directors to direct the comedy. And if they didn't have it, they weren't as good. If, for instance, I'll bring up a name you folks probably don't remember, Jack Donahue. Jack Donahue.
Oh, I do.
Jack Donahue was a song and dance man in vaudeville. He was on Broadway. He directed musicals at MGM and RKO, and he directed about 50 or 60 episodes of Miss Ball's various sitcoms. If he had been the director of Mame, I think it would have worked. But the steroids they had to give her for her leg, when it broke in like several places,
Yeah.
deepened her voice even more than it had been, and had her voice been the Lucy Show version of her voice, she could have gotten through it beautifully. If you watch the film now,
Mhm.
The first number, It's Today, is just unwatchable. But if you keep with her, with every song she sings, her voice gets better and better and better. There's
Mhm.
even some vibrato in her voice because they recorded the whole thing all at once in one day in order.
Mhm.
And as she sang more and more, she sang better and better.
Absolutely.
It's just one of those. I'm avoiding people who I think have no talent. I don't want to denigrate someone who can't defend themselves.
Why the hell not?
I'm a nice guy.
I know you are, but you got a little mean streak in you. We all do.
Yeah.
I think Betty Hutton was in complete miscast for Annie Get Your Gun.
I agree.
You know?
Absolutely.
They didn't want Ethel Merman because she was like 43 years old by the time the movie was made.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And they got Judy Garland, and she couldn't do it because she was having a drug issue.
Mm-hmm.
They had June Allison right there. June Allison would have been a great Annie Oakley. They could have borrowed. They could have borrowed Doris Day from Warner Brothers. She would have made a great Annie Oakley.
Oh yeah.
Incredible.
So they had people right there. That they brought in Betty Hutton from Paramount. Bad move. Bad move. Wrong person. Just completely the wrong person for the part.
Yeah. Great actress, just not for that role.
No.
I'm
going to take it back, sir. She was not a great actress. She was a good comedian and very good at doing frenetic musical.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost bordering on slapstick, Geoffrey, would you say? Yeah.
But the character of Annie Oakley has to settle down and sing I Got Lost in His Arms. They say that falling in love is wonderful.
Yeah. And Annie Oakley was very self-assured as well.
Yes. Yes.
Who else fits that category of right person, wrong film, or right film, wrong person?
Let me cogitate about that for a moment. I will pull a television show and tell you that I think Dick Sargent was the wrong person to replace Dick York on Bewitched.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Yeah. Too much.
Absolutely. Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
Because we know, because years later, Dick York, who played the original Darren Stevens on Bewitched, was ill. He became ill, and he did one film after Bewitched for the in fact, it wasn't a film; it was an episode of The Twilight Zone, where he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, the revival of the Twilight Zone in the 80s.
Yes.
Let's go backwards. And Chris York, I love you. We're friends. I'm going to say something that may hurt you. I'm sorry. We're telling the truth here.
Yes.
Dick York was an amazing actor in drama, in comedy, in front of an audience, in films, on television. He brought so much to Bewitched. So much. But there was a problem from day one. Dick had hurt his back. That part is true. But he hurt his back before Bewitched. The very first day, the very first table read of Bewitched, where the director and the writers and the actors and everybody who's involved with this show wants to hear how the script is going. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. There's no Dick York. So they broke for lunch. Bill Asher read his lines.
Yeah.
And Bill called the main gate. When Mr. York comes in, please let me know. And they said, Mr. York was here at 7:30. And Dick goes out. Bill goes out in the parking lot. Bill Asher, who was Elizabeth's husband and the producer and director of the show.
Yeah.
And Dick was passed out in his car. Too many pain pills.
Oh no.
He told them the truth.
Yeah.
Bill and Elizabeth had a conversation. Liz loved Dick York's work. Bill loved Dick York's work. And they said, you know what? Let's hope this is an anomaly.
Yeah.
And for 3.5 seasons, Dick really, at least a third of the success of that show has to fall in his lap.
Yeah.
Right.
Starting with the 4th season and into the 5th season, he started missing shows.
Mm-hmm.
They began
Due to
writing
pain? Is that what the issue was? Pain
no,
generally?
due to being stoned.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
oh, high
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
I'm being catty. I shouldn't be. Chris, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Due to over self-medicating. I'm not
Yeah.
saying the pain wasn't there, but he could have gotten through the scripts. They made sure that Darren never lifted anything, that Darren didn't bend down to the floor. He rarely picked up Tabitha. They wrote it so that they could work around his back. Dick began missing episodes. They'd give his lines to Larry, or they'd rewrite. Oh, Darren's out of town in Chicago, mother. Before he gets back, let's have a crisis. And then in the last season, they had to start padding his costumes and putting bronzer on him just so he wouldn't look like death. He got very thin.
Yeah.
The final episode he did was the one where Samantha finds out she's pregnant again. And in the middle of it, he had a seizure on the set. And they took him to his dressing room and they found pills everywhere, sewed into his costume, like Judy Garland on The Pirate at MGM.
Oh,
He agreed to go into a rehab place, a hospital. But Elizabeth said, I'm sorry, Erin Murphy is on this set. We have a child to protect. Our own children come to this set. We have children to protect.
Yeah.
This has gotten out of hand. We can't have this.
And so did she fire him at that point?
He was fired.
Yeah.
They didn't know which way to go with it. They talked about Endora putting a spell on him so he'd look different, to explain why all of a sudden it was a different face. What they decided to do was try to find someone who was a lookalike.
Yeah.
Some of the books out there say that Dick Sargent was the second runner-up for the part. Not really. Dick Sargent was hired for the Tammy Grimes show around the same time Bewitched was being cast.
Sure.
So a lot of nonsense has been written about this. It wasn't that Dick was a bad guy. It wasn't that he was a criminal. It wasn't that he was a creep. It's that he had a drug problem. Like many people, including me, have had to deal with, and he just couldn't. And then as time went on, he also developed lung problems and was in a wheelchair and on oxygen for a good part of the later part of his life. And he's got a wonderful son who shepherds his memory, who I like very much. But I never, ever liked Dick Sargent. He didn't have the comedy chops at all.
No, not at all. No, he always appeared to me rather stiff. He when someone's funny or when someone can pull off funny. It's hard to pull off funny. You've got to be really good at what you do.
Yeah.
And unless and until you know what you're doing comedically, don't try to do it. And Dick Sargent, again, put in a bad position, but he should have never been put in that position in the first place. I agree with you.
Dick had done other television comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that he was an unknown, but Bewitched was slapstick.
Absolutely.
And
sure, of course.
Dick York was wonderful at it. He wasn't really known for it, but it turned out he was wonderful at it.
Mm-hmm.
Dick, as an actor, York I'm talking about, did what the scene called for. He didn't walk in angry until something happened where it made him angry. Dick Sargent, every scene he walks into, there's smoke coming out of his ears for no reason.
Yeah.
The way he treats Samantha, it's like, why are you married to this woman? There's nothing there that would make anyone stick with this. With Dick York's version, he made you know that Darren, no matter what, adored Samantha. And the first few seasons where they had Aunt Clara, that Darren, if the relative was reasonable, Darren didn't mind having them around. In the beginning, he and Uncle Arthur got along. because they both hated Andorra.
Oh, sure.
You know, but as time went on, the Darren character no longer had any allies in Samantha's family. Really.
Yeah. I
But-
came across a photo, Geoffrey Mark, of you in front of the Bewitched house with the one Mr. Dr. Bombay.
Oh,
Tell me a little bit
Wow.
about that photo.
Sure. This is a long time ago.
I know.
You know, the outside of the Bewitched house
uh,
belongs on what they called the Columbia Ranch,
Mhm.
Columbia Studios. It wasn't anywhere near Columbia Studios. In fact, it was across the street from Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And the outsides to Hazel and Dennis the Menace, the Madonna Reed show, and the Partridge Family,
mhm,
Andrea Magini, and Bewitched
mhm.
were all shot there.
Mhm.
The park they all went to visit, the park was there.
Right.
And one day, Casey Rogers, who played Louise Tate,
Yeah.
and Alice Ghostly, who played Esmeralda,
Oh, God. Yeah, sure.
and wonderful Dr. Bombay and I met there and took pictures outside the Stevens house together.
Beautiful.
Are you going to show
I
it to our
love that
folks?
photo.
Are you going to show it to folks or not?
I love that photo.
I
Yeah.
love making that photo.
It was
stand
great.
there.
Amelia, do you familiar with what he's talking about? You
Oh,
too
I
young.
love the show Bewitched and everything. And I even reference, I said, look at that lady. She's being the Gladys Kravitz of the neighborhood. I do. I tell people.
Right?
I got to walk through the front door of the Stevens household,
Mhm.
which thrilled me to no end. Of course, behind it is nothing. It's just it's
No.
an artifice. But it was a very happy day for me. And I took Alice home afterwards. But they were happy to be reunited. They hadn't seen each other in years at that point.
Right.
The only person who couldn't make it was Erin Murphy, my friend Erin, who is so beautiful and so lovely. And she's just grown into be such a wonderful woman and gorgeous. So there you go.
Geoffrey, who was your favorite person to work with? Somebody that you would just would say, I could work with this person every day.
I think he's reading my questions over here. How did you find my questions?
You're asking a very prejudiced question
Absolutely.
because without thinking twice or taking a breath, my ex-partner, Joel Kabik, was always my favorite co-star. It was my happiest moment. We did the musical Where's Charlie? And he played Charlie.
I love that show.
He played
Yes.
Charlie, and I played Spedigue, the antagonist.
Yes.
Mhm.
And there is a scene between the two characters on a poof.
Right.
A poof is a round, tufted,
Mhm.
like you
Yeah.
used to find them in hotels.
Oh,
to
Mhm.
sit
sure.
on.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I don't think they have them anymore. Now, I had recently broken my arm.
Oh.
In fact, you could say he broke it. And
Mhm.
was that break the first time I heard I love you? So I didn't mind at all to hear I love you. I was like, yeah, I break the other
There you
arm. It's
go.
fine with me. But we had to rehearse this show because only
Yeah.
night was coming.
Mhm.
And what do? The
Yeah.
script called for about, I don't know, 20 seconds of slapstick nonsense between.
Sure.
Mhm.
He was afraid of hurting me. I was afraid of getting hurt. The director wanted nothing to do with this. So we said, go away, go away, go away. And we spent about a week turning that scene into about 15 minutes of Laurel and Hardy, Three Stooges, Lucy and Mr. Mooney kind of slapstick. And we choreographed it all in slow motion with my arm in a cast up in the air. So that if I fell, I didn't fall on the arm.
All right.
It stopped the show every night. This little piece, I mean, it was this big in the script, and we
Mhm.
turned it into the showcase of the show. I could do that every night for the rest of my life and be very happy.
Amelia, questions for Geoffrey Mark.
Oh, absolutely. What was your favorite place to visit as far as when you go on tour?
That's a good question.
She comes out with once in a while, you know.
I will tell you that the happiest place for me to visit
Mhm.
was Aruba.
Yes.
I was working on a cruise ship, and this is a long story. I'll make very short for
Take your
reasons
time. Tell the story.
for
Yeah, plenty of
reasons that
time.
are not important. My closest friend in the world, my sister from another mister, Phyllis, who I met 2 days after I met Joel. So we just had in September our 50th anniversary. It was Joel's and mine, which I celebrated alone, holding his hand in my heart. And 2 days later, Phyllis and I did this. She in Aruba in her garden and me talking. We lost touch.
Yeah.
I fixed her up with somebody who I knew was the right guy to be her husband. And as soon as he married her, he cut me off. These things happen.
Yeah.
And I happened to be on a cruise ship and being on the internet looking, and I saw a website for our high school where we'd all gone to school together. And there's a picture of Phyllis. So I contacted the website and I said, can I please have her contact information? They said, no, we don't do that. I said, all right. Could you please give my contact information to her? I heard from her in about 3 hours.
Wow.
She said, the reason you couldn't find me, I literally hired people because I figured when I got famous, certainly she'd seek me out. And she did. She said, the reason you couldn't find me because I wasn't on the mainland. I was living in Aruba with my husband, where he came from. She said, someday I would love for you to come here. And I said, Phyllis, I'm going to be in Aruba tomorrow.
Oh my God, how coincidental.
No.
Wow.
There's no coincidence in that. That was a God shot.
Absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
That was a God shot.
Uh-huh.
And the next day, and I'm the godfather to her children. All of the bad blood was poured away. She's my sister. Her husband's my brother-in-law. And
oh, wow. Look at that.
Geoffrey, what is your favorite kind of music to listen to?
Jazz.
Oh,
You
yeah.
like jazz?
Jazz
I've got a couple songs queued up here for you.
to listen to or to sing to?
Let's to sing to, of course.
Okay, of course.
Well, you don't want to hear us sing. We want to hear you. Well, I've got I got a couple great ones. I got the Sweet Georgia Brown, Shiny Stockings, and Ordinary Fool. What do you want to do first?
Let's do Sweet Georgia Brown. This is Marty
Tell
Page
everybody give them a little a heads up on the song.
Yes.
Sure. It's a very, very old song from the turn of the 20th century. It's almost a ragtime song, really. It was very popular up through the 20s and 30s. And it kind of fell away. It became old-fashioned. And then there was a Broadway show called Bubbling Brown Sugar that happened.
Oh, God.
And the song was in it. And everybody discovered it again. So this is a Marty Page arrangement, and this is going to be on my new album, Geoffrey Mark Sings Ella Fitzgerald.
All right. And then Sweet Georgia Brown.
Hopefully I can hear it. I can.
Oh, yeah.
No gal maid has got to shake it on Sweet Georgia Brown. You left oh so neat has Sweet Georgia Brown. They all sigh, wanna cry for Sweet Georgia Brown. I'll tell you just why. You know I don't lie, not much. 'Cause it's been said that she knocked them dead when she lands in town. What a shame, what a shame. How she cools him down. The fellers she can't get, all the fellers she ain't met. Georgia name, the Georgia claim, there's Sweet Georgia Brown. No gal maid has got a shade on a Sweet Georgia Brown. You left me honey as Georgia Brown. They all sigh, I wanna cry for that Georgia Brown. I'll tell you just why. You know I don't lie. Visit instead she knocked them dead when she lands in town. What a shame, what a shame. Cools them down, the fellers she can get. The fellers she ain't met. Georgia named the Georgia claimed her. Sweet Georgia Brown. No gal, not one gal has got a shade on Georgia Brown. Don't need hey, that Georgia Brown, they all cry. Wanna cry for that Georgia Brown. Listen while I tell you know what it's like. For the hip, the border split. Too sweet Georgia Brown. Lay back those that passion shows with $1 down. Feller, she can't get out of fellers. She ain't mad well, oh boy. If you're at her, oh joy. He's the cat, he's no gal. Got a shade on sweet. You got 2 left feet. But Sonny, she got money and clothes and diamonds too. There's just enough of the gal can't do. She's got the guys all hanging around. How she really cools them down. Georgia named her, Georgia claimed her. Georgia Brown. Georgia named her, Georgia claimed her. That old gal called Georgia Brown. How?
Fantastic.
Yes, wonderful.
Geoffrey Mark singing live.
Is it live or is it Memorex?
Our first
Oh,
live
live,
singer.
brother, live. How was your music? How did it sound good to you?
Yeah, I can
Oh,
use it
beautiful.
louder, a little bit louder. I got lost in the first couple of measures. So if we could make it a little bit louder, that'd be great.
Make it a little bit louder.
We could probably do that. Let's see.
I knew that.
Let's see. I think we're good. We got a couple more queued up, but before we get to them, let's talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about the resurgence, really, of jazz music. We're a new generation of people, young people, surprisingly, are discovering the old standards. What do you attribute that to?
They're wonderful. And there is this thing, and I was part of it, you know, of drinking and getting stoned and listening to jazz. The music lends itself to that. And the music is so good. And every generation keeps rediscovering jazz the way it keeps rediscovering the Great American Songbook. Michael Feinstein would like that plug.
Oh, sure.
Hey, Michael, he's a dear friend also.
I love Feinstein's great.
He's wonderful, wonderful person, wonderful musician, and nobody sings "Wish You Were Here" better than he does.
Oh.
But I think as young people get away from what they hear, I was going to say on the radio. I don't know if anyone listens to the radio really anymore, but
they better.
Well, yeah, for you and I, yes. But I meant musically.
We know they're listening.
Wherever young people get their music from today, there comes a point when you're maybe 17, 18, 19, where you become aware there is other music other than what is top 20 or top 10 right now. And a lot of young people are rediscovering the songs and they're recording them with their take on this.
Yeah.
You know, the songs I sing, except for the one we're going to hear next, were all written before I was born, long before I was born. Some of them before my parents were born.
That begs the question then, how were you introduced to that music? And did you know immediately, was there a kindred spirit?
I can say a lot of negative things about my folks, but I'll say a positive thing. We had an RCA Victrola in the house. We are Jewish. We are Eastern European Jewish. So klezmer music was played constantly. Yiddish songs, up-tempo, Oh My Broken Heart ballads. And klezmer music is a part of jazz. Some of
Yeah.
jazz comes from that.
Sure.
The wailing clarinet comes from klezmer music. So I heard that. And I grew up at a time where I could watch the Ed Sullivan Show.
Sure.
And it had everybody, Sergio, Frankie, and the Animals on the same show. So
Yeah,
you
right.
got to hear a little bit of everything.
And you and I, Jeffrey, are the only people who know who the hell Sergio Franchi is.
I got news for you. There's only a handful more who know who the Animals were. So
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
see, I think the songs will live. Unfortunately, I don't think the Animals will go down in history as a wonderful group.
Yeah, right.
But they came along, for those of you who don't know, they came along right after the Beatles and the Rolling
Yeah.
Stones. And
Eric Burden and the Animals, absolutely. Sure.
we won't
So,
talk about how little they actually played on their own records, but that's
Oh,
another-
God, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was
didn't-
first
They
introduced.
weren't hired for their musician skills. No, not at all. Jeffrey, we got the Shiny Stockings, a standard, beautiful standard.
Let me do
And
Ordinary Fool first.
Fool. Which one do you want to do?
Let me do Ordinary Fool first.
You got it.
Let me tell you a little story about this song.
Mhm.
This song was written by my friend Paul Williams.
Okay.
And maybe it's the only song he ever wrote that did not become a great big hit.
Yeah.
And I loved it. The very first time I saw Ella Fitzgerald sing, she sang this.
Yeah.
And she never recorded it in the studio. She did sing it. It's on one of her live albums because she happened to be singing it that night.
Mm-hmm.
And Karen Carpenter recorded it on her last album.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
other than that, I've never heard anybody else sing it. So Paul has given me permission to he says, go out and make it a hit. So we went into the recording studio, and I had a small group for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And my dear friend, Jack Sheldon, may he rest in peace,
Mm-hmm.
came in and did the jazz trumpet solos for us.
For those of you who don't know who Jeffrey's talking about, Jack Sheldon was a staple on the Merv Griffin show. He was part of the orchestra.
He also had his own
Mort
sitcom, Run
Lindsay's-
Buddy Run.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was
sure
on
did.
Dragnet a lot. He was on the Cara Williams show as a regular. So he was a comedian,
his-
actor.
Claim to fame, Jeffrey, as you know, he was the voice of the after school special.
The Bill.
The Bill. Yes, exactly.
I actually saw him do that live because somebody in the audience requested it.
Are you serious?
I worked
That's
with Jack. I worked
funny.
with Jack for about 15 years.
Mhm.
Wow.
Whether we had a big band or a small group,
Mm-hmm.
I would show up, one song only.
Mm-hmm.
He'd say to me, "Fast or slow." That was what I got to choose.
Fast or slow?
And I'd say fast, and he'd say, "Lady Be Good" in F, and I'd say F. But you know what? He was right, and off we went.
Mm-hmm.
We did it for years, once a week. Well, it was jazz singing college for me.
Yeah.
It was just a
Mhm.
wonderful, wonderful experience. And so producing him in the studio,
Mm-hmm.
I just I couldn't believe I'm in the booth telling Jack Sheldon what to do.
Wow. Isn't that
But
beautiful?
so this is also going to be on our album, and it's a very pretty ballad. It's a
This is the Paul Williams composed song, Ordinary Fool.
Jeff Stradling orchestration. Only a fool like fools before me. I always think with my heart. Only a fool, the same old story. Seems I was born for the part. the lessons that I've learned, the page I should have turned. I shouldn't cry, but I do, like an ordinary fool when his ordinary dream falls through. How many times have I mistaken good looks and laughs for bad news? How many times have I mistaken love songs and laughs for the blues? When the road I've walked before ends alone at my front door, I shouldn't cry, but I do, like an ordinary fool when his ordinary dream falls through. Tell him what I mean, Jack. Yeah. Don't tell him too much. How many times have I mistaken good looks and laughs for bad news? How many times have I mistaken love songs and laughs for the blues? When the road I've walked before ends alone at my front door, I shouldn't cry, but I do, like an ordinary fool when his ordinary dream falls through, like an ordinary fool when his ordinary dream falls through. Ordinary dream falls through. Ordinary dream falls through.
Yay! Oh, I love that
Beautiful
one.
song.
Wow.
I'll be honest, I have never heard that.
Me
Yeah.
either.
Never heard that before.
So that's my song, my hit song.
There you go.
Wow.
And do we know the name of the album this will be a part of?
Geoffrey Mark sings the Ella Fitzgerald songbook.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Beautiful.
Coming out hopefully in time for Christmas.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful. We want a copy.
Yes.
I'll make sure you get one.
Beautiful. Now, Amelia,
Mm-hmm.
since I've hogged up the first half of the show,
Really? You have?
and I hardly ever do that, Mil.
Yeah, right.
Listen, you fucker. Go ahead. Ask away. Ask away.
I was going to ask you about the Oscars. I loved actually the seating
Oh,
arrangement this
let me
year.
tell you something, you little fucker. You stole my thunder. I wanted to find out what Geoffrey got from the gifting suite. Damn
I
it.
was getting to that. Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead then. Never mind. Go ahead. Go.
Oh, well, you already asked the question, so go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh,
No, it's
come
just
on,
it's for you.
children. I'll answer the
Yeah,
damn
you
question
see,
already.
Dad, you see how
Goodness
he's
gracious.
acting, Dad.
Um,
All you, Neil.
I'm gonna tell you the honest truth.
Mhm.
I went to the Oscar gifting suite last year. I got a whole bunch of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I went to the American Music Awards gifting suite last year. I got a whole bunch of wonderful stuff. And the RSV virus, I picked that up there too.
Oh,
Mm.
jeez.
I decided not to go this year. My publicist, Harlan Bowl, who is
Yeah.
the best publicist in the business and one of my closest friends,
Mhm.
came out to the desert just to come out to the desert. And
Yeah.
we had brunch with Carol Channing's cousin Sylvia.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
I would rather have that kind of memory
Oh,
than
yeah.
just get more stuff. So I decided the human contact and seeing people I loved, and I
Mhm.
love Harlan and I love Sylvia, more important than
Oh,
Mhm.
yes.
getting more things. So I didn't go
Yeah.
this year.
Well, good for you. I'll tell you what. That's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
See that, Neil?
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Ask away.
Well, I actually love the seating this year than it was last year because it was more like it was back in the few years ago. It was to
And that
me,
didn't work out too well, didn't it? Ugh.
Right.
it was.
I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
Chris Rock's live
Oh, the slap. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Chris Rock destroyed him, and I'm glad he did.
Mhm.
Oh, he eviscerated him. Oh,
Oh,
my
yes.
God, please.
Oh, Chris is one of my
Absolutely.
Chris
Mhm.
Rock and Earl Skakel are my two favorite comedians who are
Mhm.
working right
Yeah.
now, and Chris just mopped the floor up with him. Good
Oh,
for him.
yes. I just love the way the seating was this year, and it made me feel like it was back like a long time ago, like it should have been. Like to me.
Well, the Oscars seating has changed over and over. Originally, it was just a dinner,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and it wasn't even a formal dinner.
No.
Through the years, it's been at the Coconut Grove. It's been at the Pantages Theater. It's been a dinner. It's not been a dinner. It's been in a television studio. It's been in a nightclub. They keep changing it. There was something I liked when the Emmy Awards used to be a dinner,
Oh, yes.
and
Yeah.
they were given out partially on the West Coast and partially on the East Coast.
Mhm.
And the winner is in New York. It's Carol Burnett. There was
Mhm.
something exciting about that.
Yeah.
But the award shows I've gone to, except for the TV Land Awards when they were still doing that, was a dinner.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But everything else has been in a theater. The Grammys were at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
I'll tell you, being a nominee, how it was for me.
Mhm.
You don't think about it much because there's an awful lot to do leading up to. All
Sure.
the major award shows have other things happening that week that the nominees and the press are invited to. And by the time you get to the day of, I was having brunch with a friend, and I realized, and I said to him out loud, from this moment on, I am not responsible for anything I say or do, because all sense of reason left me.
Mhm.
And then you have to get all dressed up and put on makeup in case you're up there, and you're waiting around. My category was the last one
Sure.
before they started the evening show. The
Mhm.
Grammys are presented like jazz, and that stuff is not done late at night. It's not on the nighttime show. I didn't win, but I won. The guy who actually won came over to me and said, I almost didn't come today because you should have won this. Yours was better than mine. And I want you to know that.
Wow.
But you get a wonderful gold medallion from Tiffany's on a red or different colored rope.
Oh, wow.
You get to wear those. Everybody stops you. Everybody congratulates you.
Sure.
There's
Mhm.
ballroom after ballroom after ballroom after ballroom of music and
Mhm.
celebrities. And there's Diana Ross. Oh, there's so and so.
Mhm.
I walked away very happy from it. And
Right.
once the show was over, I got so much attention. The night before the show, there was the evening where they gave you your goodie bag.
Yeah.
The goodie bag. And it was a buffet dinner at the Santa Monica Flying Museum. And I'm eating a plate of food, and I'm looking around. It's a buffet, and this African American man walks over to me and just oh, you're gonna win. I voted for you. You're so talented, and I've heard you sing, and no. And he walked away. Another person comes up and said, "Wow, you must really be flattered." I said, "Well, I'm always flattered when someone says something nice." He said, "Don't you know who that was?" I said, "No." He said, "That's a Babyface." Who that
Oh God,
year
Oh wow.
was huge.
baby face. Wow.
Wow.
And then the night before that was the Song Hall of Fame dinner, also a buffet.
Mm-hmm.
The comedian Jack Carter was my date for that.
Mhm.
And
Right.
we sat with Patty Andrews of the Andrews Sisters
Oh
and
God.
Glenn Miller's children.
Oh. Wow.
And Jack put his foot into my mouth by letting Patty know that I knew all about her bastard ex-husband. It's like, that's not really the way I wanted to be introduced to her. But we sat and dished because he did.
Funny.
And that kind of recognition, having people know who I am, I'm a ham. I love it. I love when people ask for an autograph. I love when people come over to me at a restaurant and aren't you Geoffrey Mark? And
Oh yeah.
although, I'm not as big a star as a lot of people out there. I was having lunch with Wink Martindale and his wife out here in the desert at a lovely upscale place called 849. And I guess that was a plug for you, Willie. I hope you enjoyed it. There was a bunch of people in a private dining room having an event, and they broke up, and they had to walk by our table, and everybody, it was the same reaction from everyone. Look, it's Wink Martindale. I'm such a big fan. And they look over and go, oh, you're here too. That's who I am. You're here too.
That's funny. I love that. I love stories like that.
Oh yeah.
I've been a peripheral part of show business for the better part of 45 years. That's a long fucking time. Long time. And I've always had this crow's nest view of the business because of where I am. I'm in radio and I broadcast, and I have kind of the best way to put it is the crow's nest. I'm the guy on the Titanic at the top, looking down at the iceberg. Maybe bad analogy for your career, Geoffrey.
Hey, baby, it's your career, not mine. Go ahead.
No, actually, my career is pretty damn good right now. We're flying pretty hot. But it's been interesting to hear I forget, I heard Denny Lane tell a story of Paul McCartney. Now, here's a guy who knows Paul. He played with him, played in his band Wings with him. And I'm sitting with him, sitting next to him. And he's telling me this story about, his friend Paul McCartney. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're telling me about like one of the Beatles, dude. Like, really? And
it's like when people
kind of
it's like when people find out that I was an eyewitness to John Lennon's assassination. That kind of stops all conversation short.
Yeah.
Right.
And people want to hear the story.
Yeah.
But
I won't ask you about it because I believe I actually have a photo of, and I believe you're in it.
If you have that, I've never seen it.
I believe I have a photo, and I absolutely.
Did I not tell you this story last time of how that happened?
No. Nope.
Well, I've talked about Phyllis and Aruba, so Phyllis is in the story.
Sure.
I was living on the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Okay.
The building John Lennon lived in is called the Dakota.
It's Dakota Arms, yeah.
On the corner of Central Park West and West 72nd Street.
Yep.
My darling Phyllis lived across the street on the south side of the street and about 4 doors down in a lovely apartment building, but not the Dakota.
Right.
And I took the subway from where I had been living and got off right there. And the subway lets you off right on Central Park West. And I went around the corner. In those days, the Dakota, to get into it, had this great big arch. It didn't have a front door. You went in the arch to a courtyard, It had little lights all over it. And then you dog leg to the left, and that's where the doorman was. That's where the front door was. And if you had to drive something to the like furniture, you could drive in and pull to the front door. I had put one foot into the arch when I heard the bang, bang, bang.
Wow.
Next step, I look over, and there's the guy with the gun. John is on the floor. I didn't see Yoko because she was in the shadows. And I didn't know what I was looking at. I only knew there's a guy dead there. There's another guy leaning over him. And I better get the hell out of here really fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I ran across the street, got in the elevator. I had a key to Phyllis's apartment, let myself in. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm in my 20s, and I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And turned the TV on, and Channel 9 in New York was the first channel to break the news. That's when I found out who I saw.
Yeah. Wow.
And I always felt terrible that I didn't call the police and volunteer to be a witness. I was just, in my very, very, very early 20s. And I have since spoken with Sean, who forgives me and tells me there was nothing I could have done that would have made any difference. And it worked out the way it worked out without my help. And don't worry about it.
I'll tell you what, it's a profound story. Amelia knows that in about 2 weeks, I'm going up to Jersey City, New Jersey, to interview Debbie Greenberg. Her and her father owned the Cavern Club.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm going to interview them, and she's become a very fast friend. And and she knew John, she knew all of them. But she's very close with Paul.
She must be like 90.
She's 83 years old.
Wow.
Then she was very young when
her father owned the Cavern. When he passed, she took over the Cavern.
Understood.
Yeah. She owned it from 1965 to 1970.
Yeah, the Cavern Club, for those of you out there, because I want everyone to be in on this, is where the Beatles really found their sound, worked out some of the early arrangements as playing a regular house band there. And then they went to Germany, to Hamburg, and the folks in Hamburg would yell at them, mach show, because they were just standing there. And they began to develop a style to make them happy while they sang. And then took that back to the Cavern Club, and that's where they were and then Ed Sullivan brought them here, and then my cousin Sid put them in Shea Stadium. Sid Bernstein is my cousin.
There you go. Beautiful. Yeah, we have quite a history with the Beatles on this show.
Well, now you have more.
Big time. Absolutely. Well, I got one more song queued up for you, brother. It's called Shiny Stockings. Tell me a little story behind this one.
Sure. This was something, pardon me, that the Count Basie Orchestra recorded in the 50s. And at a time when the big bands were kind of not so big anymore because rock and roll was coming in. But this, like April in Paris, this was something that charted for them and became a part of their repertoire. In 1962, on Verve Records, the Basie Band and Ella did an album of arrangements with Quincy Jones. Well, it doesn't get much better of an Ella and Quincy and Basie.
Oh, no.
So this is the Quincy Jones arrangement for vocal.
That's the gold standard
of Shiny Stockings. And I'm going to scat a little bit for you.
There you go. There you go.
Those silk shiny stockings that I wear when I'm with you, I wear 'cause you told me that you did that crazy shoot. When we go to a dance Do you think of romance? Oh no, you take a glance at those shiny stockings, then comes some chick along with great big stockings too. Then you change your mind about me. Why, I never knew. I guess I'll have to find a new guy, a new guy who's stockings. I count things through out. Then comes some chick along with great big stockings too. And then you changed your mind about me. Why, I never knew. I guess I'll have to find a new guy who keeps my stockings. Yes. I need a guy who keeps my stockings too. Stockings.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Well, we go
Thank
from
you so much.
that beautiful stuff to this beautiful stuff up against the heartbreak. Jeffrey, watch this.
Okay.
Do you have sweaty balls or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and clean your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0. Your balls will thank you, and so will we. Five years a sponsor.
I don't know what's funnier. That commercial after I sing, or your voice on that commercial.
I wrote, produced, and performed that commercial.
Tell your sponsor to send me one.
We'll get you one.
I got asked about that commercial too, by the way. And I told him, I said, watch that commercial and get that, and you'll get that discount.
Yeah, 20% discount we get our customers. You kidding me? Please. 5 years with that sponsor.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want a free one for doing this.
You'll get one. You absolutely will. We'll make sure we send one out to you. And we'll even send you a Wrestling with the Future t-shirt.
Ooh, I'd love it.
Absolutely. Amelia, questions for Geoffrey Mark.
Yeah, I'm not singing anymore. So after Shiny Stockings, there's not much left.
Right? He's like relaxing now. He's got his tea.
Exactly. Look, he had a good air. He's got his air back,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
Got
Did I
good
sing? Did I
aeration in
sing
his
well enough for
lungs.
you guys?
Oh,
Did
you
I
did
do well?
fantastic.
was-
Oh my goodness.
Incredible music tonight,
Mhm.
Jeffrey.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
I must admit,
love jazz. I really love jazz. I think that it's such an underappreciated music
Mhm.
form. I really, really do.
I must say, normally I think I sing a little better than that, but the rain here is in my throat, so I'm a little raspy in my singing. But
Can I tell you something? I think it lended to you.
Oh, I loved
I
it.
really
It's
do. I
wonderful.
think
I
it lended
will
to you.
say, with pardonable pride, that certainly there are better jazz singers out there, but and I'm talking about only folks who are alive on this planet right now. I
Mhm.
think I'm the best scat singer on the planet.
Mhm.
You very well may be, because there's not a lot of people that do scat anymore.
No.
A lot of
No.
people don't even know what it is.
Mm-mm.
There was a guy years ago, Amelia, you're way too young to remember this guy. They called him Scatman Carruthers, and they called him Scatman for a reason. He invented pretty much single-handedly this art form called scat,
Mhm.
which is what Geoffrey was performing tonight.
Mhm.
And it's a lost, dying art form. Nobody does it. Geoffrey may be not only the best, but he may be one of the only
I think so because I've
that
not heard
does
it.
this kind of
Well,
music anymore.
all of the ladies who are touring now, and there's 4 of them who are
Mhm.
touring with Ella Fitzgerald tribute shows, all of them scat, and I love them all. I know them all.
Mhm.
I just think I do it a little bit better. And I don't know of any men. I know Janice Siegel of the Manhattan Transfer does it, and she's wonderful. I
Yeah.
just think I'm better. Now, in the same breath, I can't do what the Manhattan Transfer does, and they're friends of mine, and they're
Mhm.
50 years together, and they're absolutely marvelous, and they have a new
I
album out. Go
love
get it.
those guys.
Well, I do
I
too.
love them. Years ago, they did a song that kind of endeared me to them. It was called "Trickle Trickle."
Yes,
You remember that one?
sure.
Amelia, you're way too young to remember that. You were just an embryo.
I was not even thought of yet.
Right? But there was a song called "Trickle Trickle," and it was like very kind of reminiscent of like swing. It was kind of swing.
What's
And
wonderful? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say it was very reminiscent of kind of like 50s, 60s swing back in the day.
What I love about the Manhattan Transfer is that they do some stuff that's very reminiscent of the 20s and 30s.
Mhm.
They do stuff that's of the wartime, middle of 20th century. They
Mhm.
do rock and roll. They do rock. They do doo-wop music. They do
Mhm.
scat music. They do Brazilian music. They've got gorgeous Christmas albums out. One
God.
acapella, one, there's no instruments. It's just the 4 of them
Yeah.
singing in harmony. It seems like they can do anything, and I've never been disappointed going to see
Neither
them.
have I. I absolutely concur with you. They can do it all.
Cheryl Bentine, the soprano, lives out here, and we're good buddies. And in fact, I'm going to have her on my show as soon as she stops touring. We're going to do a salute to the Manhattan Transfer on my Ella show. The songs of Ella's that the Transfer covered, because they sang a Tisket a Task, and they recorded How High.
Yeah.
They recorded a lot of things. Airmail Special that Ella did, and Wacky Dust was originally Ella's. So we'll like to look forward to this week. By the way, if I can give myself a commercial, this week on Geoffrey Mark Plays Ella, available on as a podcast on every platform there is.
Yep.
On radio
Absolutely.
stations. It's Ella sings Sinatra. It's Ella doing cover versions of Sinatra hits and things that Frank was known for. So I think you guys will love it a lot.
Oh,
Absolutely. And just a reminder that Geoffrey Mark's radio show, Geoffrey Mark Plays Ella, is heard nationally. Check your local listings and stations for times. And Geoffrey, this is number 3. We got to bring it back for number 4. Amelia,
Yes.
I always throw you under the bus whenever Jeffrey can't make it or we got a problem here because you're convenient. Um, so when are we bringing Jeffrey back?
Whenever he'd
Since
like to
you
come back,
handle the damn
or
schedule, woman.
whenever.
I've been
Actually,
I've been I've been called convenient, and it wasn't a compliment.
whenever
Well, you
whenever he can come back, actually, whenever he has no tour dates of, whenever he's free.
What I would
Well-
love to do, I'm throwing this at you, and you can think about it later. I'd
sure.
love to come on once a month and sing a few songs and tell some stories.
Why the hell not?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love that.
Oh, you were gonna
Why
tell us
absolutely.
before. Have you finished your book yet? Were you able to start printing yet? I know that you were going to do the Lucy book.
The
the
Lucy
last time
book
we
is not
spoke.
coming out till next year for
Okay.
next Christmas.
Next Christmas. Okay.
My memoirs are being shown to publishers right now.
Oh, good.
No.
Good.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
in that world again, where you get everything you want, both books would come out next year.
Mhm.
This coming fall, I have a landmark birthday. I'm hoping to get back east and sing at the Triad Theater in New York.
Oh,
I'm
good.
hoping my album will be available then. And then we're going to have a party for my East Coast friends and a party out here for me. Next year, with the new Lucy book coming out,
Mhm.
and if not this year, next year, my album coming out. And next year is my 50th anniversary in show business.
Wow.
We're gonna
Fantastic.
celebrate that
Oh,
as
we will
largely as
celebrate that
Oh,
with you.
yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Amelia, what do we have coming up?
That you were going to tell me.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. Oh, that's right. We switched it tonight. I'm going to
Yes,
tell you
we
tonight.
did.
Next week, a return to the good old days. Check this out. Next week, a return to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. The circus is back in town. They will make their world debut one more time in Philadelphia. First time Ringling Brothers made their circus debut, it was Philadelphia under the big top. Now it will be at the Wells Fargo Center in front of 27,000 people.
Wow.
And tickets go on sale a year ahead of time. We're going back to the circus.
I have a connection to them, actually. So there you go.
Well, here we go.
My
Tell us.
my great grandfather, I'm there's two stories I want to tell. Which one I was going to tell first? My great grandfather owned a hay and feed store in Bridgeport, Connecticut,
Oh,
from whom Barnum bought all the victuals for his animals.
okay.
So from the early part of the 20th century until Barnum stopped being a part of the circus,
Yeah.
my grandfather, that's where the family money that I never got to see, but it's where the family money came from. I'm also told that Thornton Wilder based Horace Vandergilder on my grandfather because he was cantankerous, cheap, a ladies' man, and hay and feed. It's the same kind of business, the same kind of character. So I'm told Horace Vandergilder was my great grandfather.
Interesting stuff.
Wow.
Now, what's the other story?
No, those are the two stories. That
That's it. Okay, cool.
So I'm connected to the circus that way, and that. Hello,
Amelia,
Dolly.
have you ever been to the circus?
Oh, yeah. Lots of times when I was a little girl.
It was a long
I
time
never,
ago, man.
I never liked the animal part
But
of
do
it.
not get me near a clown.
Really? You never? Why is that, Jeffrey?
Even as a child, I looked at the faces of the animals and I said, they may be very well trained. They're not happy doing this. I never got any sense of joy from the animals. So that kind of, I didn't mind the clown. I love clowns. Everybody I know hates clowns. They're afraid.
Yeah, Amelia hates them too.
I'm scared of them.
Afraid of them. You know, we grew up with Bozo the Clown on television, so it was a little bit of a different,
so lovable.
But so I understand these days that there's no elephants anymore and there's no
No.
No animals being forced to do things they don't want to do. So, but the circus as a thing is a lovely place and a great deal of fun. And I hope the new version really works.
I think it will, only because they refuse to be canceled, and I think that fight in them is going to go a long way. I think people are ready for a return to the traditional circus. And, you know, look, with or without animals, a circus is still a circus. You don't have to have elephants and horses and all this other stuff. You know, the guy on the trapeze or the pretty woman, you know, flying by her teeth, you know, that's the circus to me.
Oh, yes.
I wish they would return to the really early days when circuses had a midway. And part of being, you know, under the tent was that you went under the tent, and then afterwards you spent the rest of your evening on the midway, where they had a fun house. So they had it was so a circus was the performers and then a carnival outside.
Absolutely. You had the hairy woman, you had the dog boy, you had the freak show. Well, I'll use the word freak show because look,
that's what it was called.
Background, Amelia, our background is a freak show, pro wrestling.
I don't like the words, but it's just the word. It gave those people a job.
Yes,
it allowed them to work.
They call themselves freaks. They like the term. They're identified as something unique.
I don't think they like the term today. Back then they did. And times change and words change and sensibilities change. But the idea of having all these little entertainments and the shooting gallery and guess your weight and hit the sledgehammer to see how strong you are. And, you know, Madame Mazanga tells your fortune. It's harmless fun. And if people who are overweight or too skinny or whatever their thing is that sets them apart want to go out there and make money showing off, good for them. You know, like Mad Dog here said, all of us are freaks to some. I mean, look at me. You know, I walk around like this going to the Walmart. You know, I stand out and I get paid for that. And yay.
Absolutely. There you go.
But I love your sequin hats. That's my favorite.
I can thank 3 people or more actually for my look. I've told this story before, but since you didn't hear it, I was performing in Los Angeles a long time ago, and a comedian named Rip Taylor, who you probably don't know who he is.
I loved Rip.
I remember seeing him on TV.
He was Rip was my dinner buddy.
Rip and I were good friends, which means that when he says he was dinner buddies, it means he paid for Rip's dinner, because that's how it works.
Exactly what that means. Yeah.
Rip Taylor and Chuck McCann came to see me perform. We went out to dinner to the late great Hamburger Hamlet on Sunset Boulevard. And Rip said to me, "You are magic on stage, but you dressed like a fucking accountant." I wore a 3-piece suit and a tie. I kept my hair very, very short. And he took me shopping. And I'll make a very long story short. I took one hat on a cruise ship with me. The audience went crazy. The next cruise was 3 hats. Now I've got 132 rooms behind me. Then Lori Marshall, Peter's wife, said, "You need shoes to go with that." And she got me wearing sparkly shoes. And then Carol Channing said, "You have to be sure to wear diamonds with your sparkles." Because that will really set you apart. No, seriously. So I always have at least one diamond ring on. And, you know, I'm kind of underdressed because I'm just sitting here in my house. But if I were out and about, I'd have much more on and, you know, be Geoffrey Mark.
There you go. Fabulous. Well, I'll tell you what, brother. You are a welcome sight around here anytime you want to come by.
Absolutely.
And we'll make sure Amelia gets a hold of you, set something up for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell everybody where people can see you. When will you be on tour? And when you come in Eastbound?
I don't have dates for the tour yet. It won't start until the fall. We'll give you folks out there. We'll give you dates on another visit to the show. But Geoffrey Mark Plays Ella, GPE, is every week, and you can either listen on the radio or go to a podcast and listen to it in 15-minute increments. I don't know what's coming out next. That's how show business works. Sometimes you finish something first, but the second thing comes out first. So sometime in the next 18 months, 2 or 3 books, a record album, a tour, some celebrations, because heaven knows I could use some celebrations. Because you mentioned, we only talked about one of my friends who passed away. There were other people you mentioned who I know. So it's time to celebrate a little bit too. We're
Absolutely.
Still here. We're still here. Even Bobby Blake's passing saddened me. I am
broke my heart.
I am in a minority that do not believe he had his wife killed.
Absolutely,
I don't think Bobby was capable of it.
Nope.
I don't think. If it happened when he was 25, I might have believed it. By the time it happened, Bobby was in sobriety. Bobby was getting help. Bobby was on medication. I don't think that happened. He was an.
I don't think so either. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
He's an extraordinary actor.
Yeah.
He worked very, very hard to get clean and sober. And in his prime, good heavens, was he a sexy man?
Yeah. He was a good-looking guy.
Like
even
you,
as an older guy, he was a good-looking guy.
Like you, Angelo. He just had that swagger.
Yeah. It's a Jersey thing, brother. It's all Jersey.
I like to embarrass him once a show,
and the other thing too is, Robert Blake was really Michael Gubitosi.
Right.
So he had that Italian thing going for him. Yeah, that broke my heart, but I had my heart broken this week too. I'm dedicating this show.
Oh, please.
To Rocky, my little Chihuahua, Rocky Balboa. Yeah. I had Rocky for 14 years, and we had to say goodbye to Rocky on Sunday. And Rock, Papa misses you so much. And Amelia, thank you for the little memorial you made for him. This one we're doing for Rocky and for Geoffrey and all those who appreciate and love jazz. We're going to bring some jazz back to you, folks, because Geoffrey Mark is coming back.
Yes.
Yeah,
on behalf.
We'll do 3 different songs next time.
You got it. Whatever you want to do. I got cue them up for you. We'll take care of it. For Geoffrey Mark, for Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, I am the Mad Dog, Angelo DeCipio. Join us on our new day and time next week, Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, all around the world, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.